Welcome back to the Jennifer Kwapis podcast, where we get real about work, life, and everything in between. Today's podcast, it's been brewing for a while. It's been on my heart, my mind, and honestly, on my nerves. We're talking about how corporate HR policies are killing morale at work and why people leaders have got to do better. Because if we keep going the way we're going to have a workforce full of burnt out robots clocking in and checking out. Let's get into it. Before we get into the HR bullshit of today's episode, I just want to have a girl moment with all of you and ask, what in the hell? Lately, I don't go a morning without waking up and crying over something absolutely ridiculous. And I am not a crier. I am pretty solid. I despise crying. I like to just shove my feelings down deep or let them stay floating about in my head. But lately, I hear a song, I hear a commercial, just anything, listening to a podcast and heard someone talking about something they went through with their kids in the graduation party and moving away. And while that normally is something that would touch a mama's heart, I am not one to shed tears over it. But lately, I cannot help myself. Is this perimenopause? Is there something where hormones are just so much higher in the morning? Because like I said, it seems to only happen in the morning when I'm on my drive into work or just waking up and something hits me out of the blue. Is this normal? Has this happened to anybody else? Why? It's awful. Oh, but anyways, speaking of touching moments and our kids, we are officially on summer break. And while I felt like I limped over the finish line with some broken extremities, there were some really great moments at the end of the school year, too, through all those activities. One being field trips I got to attend with my kids. But most importantly, I think I've mentioned my daughter is now officially a middle schooler. She is done with elementary school. So she did have her fifth grade graduation ceremony. And it is just truly a proud moment to see your child walk across that stage and hear all of the accomplishments and awards that the school decides to give them. My daughters were all the extra participation in different activities that she's done throughout the school year, being on safety patrol and on their broadcast club. And just, it's so great that you can relish in that success with your child and celebrate all of the accomplishments that they've had. Because in today's day and time, let's be honest, there's just a ton of distractions. So to have a successful student who wants to be involved in her school, I really just was so proud. And the school does such a wonderful job. They had a slideshow up where they had her baby picture and it morphed into her fifth grade yearbook picture. And gosh, it really just gets you in the field, not only for your own child, but for all the kids that have grown up in your home playing with your child or your friends' kids that you've seen grow up right alongside of your own. So it really was a really special time. And if you also have a child going off to middle school, high school, or college, yeah, I hope that you take a minute to pause and just think of all of the things that your child's accomplished and can just feel really proud because parenting is hard. So take those moments and just live in them the best that you possibly can. I'm going to take one more minute here just to really dote on my daughter also, because my son always goes to summer school. And it's not because he's a bad student. He's just one of those students that needs to continue to work on certain aspects. And summer school is just a great way for him to get that extra help and to continue to learn and work on things and not have that summer slide back. And for whatever reason, it wasn't a huge discussion. He's done it since he started kindergarten. And we were at the dinner table and I made mention of summer school and he stopped dead and just stared at me. And I could see his little eyes filling up with tears. And he was like, I have to go to summer school again this year. I worked so hard. I got all A's and B's on my report card. And it crushed my soul. Not only did it crush my soul, but clearly it crushed my daughter's soul as well, because she came up with a plan almost immediately on the spot and offered to tutor him in the subject areas where he needed extra help, which happened to be reading and writing. And my husband and I, kind of had looked at each other, and my husband was like, "Oh, absolutely not," which I could completely understand where he was coming from. And I also had reservations about siblings trying to work together through something like that, him having to take direction from his big sister. But also, I know that she is just so mature and so gentle and would do such a great job tutoring him versus going to summer school where he's going to have to work on all subject areas. This would kind of give us the opportunity for him to have focus directly on the areas that he needed. So we had more conversation with my daughter, just one on one without my son being present, to ask her, like, is this really what you want to do? It's your summer break too, and you deserve to enjoy your summer. Summer school for Reed is not a punishment. It's just something that he has to do for extra help. And she absolutely was determined to tutor him, which just made my heart swell 3 times the size. She did not want to see her brother have to go to summer school, and she truly wanted to help him and had it on her heart and mind that she absolutely could. So we came up with a plan. We bought a chapter book that they're both going to read together. Reed is going to be reading the chapters out loud to Brooke so that he's getting that reading practice, but they're both going to be reading the same story. I utilized Chat GPT, which, wow, is so impressive. I put in the name of the chapter book and asked for comprehension questions for each chapter on the book that they're reading, and it spit them all out. I asked for an answer key so that my daughter had the answer key, even though she'd be reading it as well. Just thought it would be helpful and help her feel more like the teacher. ChatGPT also generated writing companion, they called it. So it was like, after a bigger chunk of the book, like 10 chapters, here's something you can ask the student to motivate them to write a paragraph or two about. And it also came up with vocab, like, here's vocab and things you can work on. What I'm trying to say is it was incredible. So, parents, if you're looking for any sort of resources for your students over the summer, utilize ChatGPT. I have used the completely free version. I didn't pay for anything, and it populated so many things that I was able to then just print off and have worksheets, have those questions to go along with the story that he's reading. But really, I have to believe whatever subject you want, you can put it in there and have it spit something out for you. So just a mother to mother piece of advice there. But just going back to like that sibling bond, I didn't have a sibling that I was close in age with growing up, and it's been really incredible the last week and a half to hear them working together every morning. Summer school starts, we'll say summer school, but her tutoring always starts at 10 a.m. every day. So they have to, get up, get breakfast, and then they meet at 10 o'clock to start reading their chapters and going through some things together. She has him working in IXL, which is an app that offers more help in reading for him. Just so great to see my two kids working together like that, and big sister really stepping up and having empathy for little brother having to get up and go to summer school 4 days a week and just really taking that on herself. I just wanted to share a proud mom moment if I can. And while on the topic of kids being home, can I just say how much I absolutely hate having to leave them 3 days a week to go into the office? So I work from home every Monday and Friday, and I go into the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it is so tough to get up and go into the office knowing that my kids are at home, my husband is at home. I just feel so much more productive at with work stuff while I'm at home and able to still hear them and see them running about or playing with their friends or look out the window and see them ride by on their bikes. Like, I just truly hate the disconnect after having had worked from home 5 days a week for so long. It's really a struggle this summer. So if anybody is in that same boat, parents, I see you, I feel you. It is hard, and I just feel like something so important to me got ripped from my hands. So while we are on that topic, I guess we will get into kind of my soapbox for today on why I think HR is completely killing morale in the workplace and what I think our people leaders need to be doing about it. So let's call it what it is. We're living in a performance metrics obsessed work culture between the stack rankings, scorecards, productivity dashboards, KPI spreadsheets that are so complicated. I feel like you need a decoder ring just to read through them, which, okay, I get it. Data matters and it helps us make smart business decisions. But here's the thing, we've tipped too far into measuring and not nearly enough into motivating. Employees are people, not units of output. And when we treat people like a number, they stop caring. And I'm going to stop saying they and say we because I am so in this and so feeling this. I am disengaged. I am resentful, and no stack ranking system on earth is going to fix a team that feels invisible. They keep asking us at work to take these workplace of choice surveys, and I just want to scream from the top of my lungs like, are you kidding me? Do you think that you're going to get a different answer? You've changed nothing. You say you've held countless meetings and all these leaders have gotten together to discuss what's changing, but nothing has changed. We still feel invisible. We still feel like we're ranked against our peers, and we just feel like robots and like our work doesn't matter. You need to stop forcing this HR agenda on our people leaders and let them lead. Let them motivate their employees. Let them have connection and get to know us and determine which two or three from their team they really want to grow into that next phase of their careers, if that's what they're looking for, and put that trust back in their hands. Should they provide data on our work output? Sure, certainly. But does that discussion need to be had between the leader and the individual and seem more important than having the connection between the individual employee and their leader with where they want to go and what they want to do and how that leader can help them get there? I just feel like this is a really weird work era where everyone's following and no one is leading. Policies come down from HR like commandments. And here's how thou shall rate thou team. And here's the bell curve. Here's the calibration meeting where we're going to decide who is a meets and who is a doesn't meet. And managers, many of them, just seem to be following the script. They're afraid to question it. And I get it. Corporate pressure is real. But y'all, leadership isn't compliance, it's connection, it's vision, it's people first. And you are in a position to lead. And you're just rubber stamping HR metrics without asking how your people are actually doing. And I hate to break it to you, you're not leading. You're just babysitting Excel sheets at this point. So, here's my advice to people leaders and how you should actually be building your teams. If you are a manager right now, first of all, God bless you because this cannot be easy to navigate. I get it and I empathize with you. It is not easy, but it is critical work. You have the power to either kill morale or light a fire inside of somebody. Which one would motivate you more to go into work and do every single day? So, my lists, I love them, and I made another one. So, number one, make sure you're hiring people for the right attitudes and attributes, not just experience. Look for people with grit, with curiosity, with a willingness to learn. You can teach skills, but you can't teach drive and personal motivation. So, number one, we're hiring for attitude, not just experience. And number two, have real development conversations. And I don't mean have this conversation once a year. Have this conversation all the time. Ask your people, where do you want to go? What do you want to learn? And how can I help you get there? And then listen without projecting your own career path onto that person. Because I feel like that is happening often as well. And nothing gets under my skin more than having to hear the good old boys' stories about how hard they worked and how they did never saw their families and they sacrificed X, Y, and Z to get where they're at today. Okay, Mr. Smith, while I respect that that's how you got there, that is not the world that we live in today. And who's not to say, just because this is a working mother with a young family sitting in front of you, that she too isn't going to be willing to make sacrifices in those leadership roles just because she has children. Highly doubt those conversations are being had with other male employees, but I know for a fact that they're being had with female employees. But I'm going to let that one step to the side and just say overall, don't project your journey onto your employees. Things have changed. We are now all tethered with laptops and cell phones that we can access work no matter where we are, which is both a curse and a blessing. Because if anybody has a work computer and a work phone, you know that there are certain expectations of you answering and what your response time to answering is, regardless of if it's after hours or on a weekend, which maybe could be a whole nother podcast because I feel like there are boundaries and time and place. So if you are stepping into a leadership role, you are obviously going to be putting in a lot of time and effort, and you're going to be responding to things after hours and on weekends if you are leading people. I absolutely get that. But there's also things that can wait. And sometimes I think in today's day and time, people forget that everything is instant gratification and instant responses. And there has to be a boundary of professional and family in order for us to really achieve this work life balance. Because it is not fair to expect people to be all in with work all the time. They do have families. They're working to provide a living for their families, for their children, for their spouses, for the things that they love to do. If they're not married and don't have children, they're allowed to have a life outside of work. So, to reel it back in, I'm saying to people leaders, have those conversations, but be a good listener and do not make employees feel like they're going to have to sacrifice their happiness and their life outside of work to make those things happen in their career. Number three, people leaders, protect your teams from this corporate bullshit. Yes, you have to play the corporate game. I get that. Part of your job is to be the buffer between the policy nonsense and the people who are doing the work. You need to advocate for your team. You need to explain the why behind the decisions and show empathy. But you do not need to project all that that you sat through and heard and hated and regurgitate it right back onto your team to make them feel that lack of motivation as well. Take that on as the leader and find a way to use it to motivate your team. Share the parts that are critical and important and do the things you have to do, absolutely. And I also like leaders who are transparent and saying, hey, this might not be the way I would do it, but this is the way the company is going. And these are the decisions that they're making. And this is how we as a team need to get through it. So be transparent, but also just protect your team the best you can from the policy BS. And number four, make sure you are celebrating effort and growth, not just results. If someone busted their butt to learn something new or stretch outside of their comfort zone, that deserves recognition. even if it didn't translate into a perfect metric. Praise the process, not just the outcome. And I could go on and on about this one because with all these KPIs and numbers being put against us as employees, it's like, okay, yeah, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe my turnaround time wasn't as quick as it was last month, but I did take on this stretch assignment and that stretch assignment, and I did help this team achieve this. Like, this is where I'm talking about metrics making us feel like robots instead of human individual contributors to a bigger picture in a company, which is so much more important than how quickly I did certain tasks sitting at my desk. And it's tough. It's tough to be motivated to take on those extra assignments if I'm just going to be sat down over and over again and we're just going to talk about how quickly I do things. Then that quickly becomes my sole focus. Fine, if that's what you want from me, I'm going to come in, I'm going to get those tasks done as quickly as possible. I'm going to collect my paycheck and I'm going to go home. Like, I'm checked out. I don't care. I have zero motivation for going above and beyond or trying to, come up with a better process or a better way of doing things because you don't give a shit. And I don't want to sit there and put all this extra work in if at the end of the day you're going to say, "Yeah, great, you meet. Congratulations." Like, get the fuck out of here. I'm so over it. So over going into work every day, leaving my family at home and feeling so not connected with my work, and like what I do doesn't matter and who I am doesn't matter, and where I want to go is it's important, and you tell me that it's important, but we're really not doing anything to get me there. We're just calculating and documenting in my entire work file how quickly I do tasks. Like, that's not who I am, and that's not why I'm important here. And I empathize with you if you are feeling the same way. And I just, with talking to people, feel like most people are in that same boat. And perhaps that's why maybe we'll start to see small businesses start to grow again. At least I hope. Because if corporate America can't pull their heads out of their asses and they continue this way, I think a lot of people are going to start to say, if I'm going to work this hard, I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to work towards something that I want to do that, and I can do it because I am valuable. And I hope people hear that voice inside of them and go after it if you're starting to feel that way. I see more and more people opening up businesses and leaving work. I've interviewed a few of them on this podcast, and I am back here just jumping up and down and cheering for those people because I think it's fantastic. And I think it's absolutely important for us to feel like whatever we're doing away from our families matters and makes us feel complete. And that is, I'm not going to lie to you, why I'm sitting here in front of you on this podcast. It makes my heart happy to talk about things that are on my heart and mind and share that with other people in my journey and things I've gone through. But it would also be absolutely fantastic to not have to go into corporate America every single day, which is such a weird thing to say because I am a third generation at the corporation that I work for and had so much pride in that company going into it. And within the last 3 to 5 years, it's just started to slide and it continues to slide backwards. And I just don't know if the safety net is ever going to open up and make things feel the same as they used to. I loved the people that I work with. And honestly, I still do. I think that's a huge part of what keeps me where I am is the people that I work with. But it's really sad and really hard because we're all having these same conversations with each other and feeling the same way, and it's gut wrenching. And I know it's not just my corporation. I know the grass is not greener on the other side. So hey, if you can make a living for yourself doing something that sets your heart on fire or pays the bills and allows you to get out of having to navigate human resource policy and feeling like a number, more power to you, and share that with me because share that with our community because it'll only motivate anybody who's feeling like they're stuck. You are not stuck. You are a valuable, smart, career driven person, and you should feel valued and feel good about the work that you're doing. So, last but not least, if you are a people leader, number 5 on my list is build a culture of trust. People work harder for leaders who believe in them, and it's that simple. I don't think I really need to elaborate on that. Like, you're going to work harder for people when they believe in you and they have your back and they're cheering you on. I don't know how anybody can feel motivated to work for someone who just sits in front of you and tells you what kind of numbers you're putting out into some sort of data system, which God only knows if that's even accurate. And it's certainly not taking into account all of the extras and just being human. On the flip side, after talking to the people leaders, I want to give some advice to employees and tell you that you are not powerless. So I'm going to flip the mic for a minute because if you're not a manager and you're sitting there thinking, yeah, the system sucks, I hear you. But I also want you to know you're not powerless. And here's some ways I think that you can stay motivated and navigate the corporate maze. Number one, know your value, even if your manager doesn't tell you. Write down your wins, keep a record. And I know it's annoying and nobody likes to have a brag folder, but it is absolutely necessary because you never know when you're going to have to advocate for yourself in a review or if you decide to job hunt and move elsewhere. So make sure you're keeping a detailed record of all those extra things that you are doing and wins that you've had for yourself, courses that you've taken. Keep it all in a file. Number two, grow your skills on purpose. Do not wait for permission. Take the course, read the book, ask to shadow someone, learn what interests you, and know that growth is your responsibility. While it is great to have people leaders who want to help you get there, I do still think it's your responsibility as the employee to let your manager know what you need from them to get you there and it be your idea. Number three, make sure you're building a career, not just a job. And I know I just said it's so hard to feel motivated in that manner right now and have that mindset, but ask yourself what it is that you want to do long term and then try to work that backwards because every project, every skill, every relationship, it's a building block to where you want to go. So be intentional with your job. So be intentional and grow your career for yourself. And have it grow into something you want it to be and where you know you can be an asset to that company. Number four, network. Like your future depends on it because it does. Relationships matter so much more than performance scores, period. And I'm going to say it again. Relationships matter more than performance scores, period. Okay. The people you know and the way you help people that you've worked with or crossed paths with, or just your personality that stood out to somebody matters so much more than if you got to meet expectations last year. Because if those people's career move on and shift, or your career moves on and shifts, and those people that you've been in contact with in the past are working for you or you're working for them, it matters. It just matters. So make sure you're networking and reaching out to people outside of your own people leader and outside of just your immediate group that you work in. And number five, I know it's hard, but do not let stack ranking mess with your mindset. The system is flawed. Absolutely, no doubt. It's demotivating. And I've said that over and over again. But your worth is not a number on a grid. Your talent, your energy, your impact, none of that fits into a forced distribution model. It just doesn't. So keep doing good work, keep showing up, and if your current company doesn't see it, somebody else will. Okay, I feel so much better that I got that off my chest. And I hope that you feel better knowing that you are not alone in this struggle right now and that the grass probably isn't greener at another company. Sad, but true to say. And maybe it is. So if you work for an awesome company, again, put it out in our community. Go on our social pages, comment on this episode. Let us know where you're at. So if anybody is really just struggling and ready for a change, it could be a good place for them to start looking for their next career. And last but not least, I just want to talk about sports, kids sports. My son and my daughter have now both come to me asking to move into travel sports. And I see pros and cons to both sides. And I'm struggling with this parenting decision. And while I am always going to support my kids and what they want to do, I do just have some reservations. So my son, right, he loves baseball. He loves baseball. Like it's his sport. And it might be his only sport. He usually plays flag football indoors during the winter as well, and he's good at it, but he loves baseball. Like you guys, if he's not at a baseball game or at a baseball practice, he's downstairs hitting balls off the tee, or he has this big like wood mallet and he's like breaking in his mitt or rubbing it down with oils or wrapping it up in rubber bands and putting it under the mattress. Like he just loves baseball. And he's asked me to try out for a travel baseball team. And I think it's fantastic. We kind of put our feet in the water with that this year. He was on a tournament team, which just did local tournaments, but you would spend entire weekends with these other families cheering these boys on at games. And it was a riot. We had a great time. So that is not what I'm worried about. It is super expensive. But again, that's why we work hard so that we can support our kids to do those things. And I will, do whatever I have to do to make those things work. But I'm concerned about the family time that, let's be honest, will cease to exist, right? If, you know, Brooke has volleyball here and Reed has baseball here, and now we're in completely different cities, states, whatever it may be, that's a lot of time that we're spending apart. I'm worried my husband and I are going to become ships in the night, with him being somewhere with one kid and me being somewhere with another. And while I know that is a natural progression that happens to sport families, my kids are young. Like Reed isn't even 9 yet. He'll be 9 in September. Brooke just turned 11. So she's kind of getting into the age where I figured that would start to happen. But man, I'm just not ready to give up these weekends of us being a family and doing all these great activities that we're used to doing together. I told you guys in a previous episode that we recently sold our camper, but my intention with selling the camper was, okay, they're old enough. We can get on a plane, or we can take a long car ride and go Airbnb it somewhere and still go do these family vacations. And I just think financially, time wise, it'll turn into our family vacations are going to these tournaments and traveling with our kids. And on one hand, I'm okay with it. And on the other, I don't know if it's the right time, or at what age is the right time to make that switch. So just sharing some mama stuff with you guys. If you've made these decisions, hey, please, any advice that you can offer from your side, I am willing to listen. Have you done this? Was it a great experience for you and your kids? Was it a terrible experience? Because I've heard some terrible experiences too, just awful coaches or drama with other parents on these teams, and you're spending so much time with them. Like, I do not have the energy to have family drama with sporting families. Like, no, thank you. Like, let's just all root our kids on and rally and try to have fun in the crazy and chaos that is travel sports, right? And then there's the tryouts, which I have no problem with my kid trying out for something and not making it. I just think that gives them that much more grit. So I'm not one of those parents that just can't see my kid get their heart broken. Like, it is life. It's gonna happen. You're not always gonna get the job you apply for, interview for. You're not gonna make the team that you try out for every time, but it's how you come back better and stronger and continue to be persistent and go after the things you want that builds you into who you are and builds character. So I'm totally okay with that. It does get tough when I can imagine. I haven't gone through it yet. Obviously, Reed did try out for this tournament team and he made it. So we haven't gone down the road yet of tryouts where somebody didn't make something. But I can imagine that gets really tough if friends or kids they're used to playing with make teams and they don't. I just think I'll have a harder time seeing if those friendships start to fizzle out or pull away from each other because of this. So, any advice on navigating that would be great. If you've had that experience, again, share, share, share. This is a community, and that's what I'm trying to build. And having all this social media presence with this podcast is so that we can rally around each other and wrap our arms around each other and share all of the wisdom that we've been through. So, just to wrap it up, I see you. It's tough out there, moms, but you're doing better than you think, as I always say. And yeah, corporate HR policies right now, they're killing morale, just plain and simple. They're outdated, they're mechanical, they're creating environments where good people feel stuck, unseen, and unmotivated. But this doesn't have to be the story. So if you're a leader, lead. Please use your brain and forget the HR policies when you can and lead your people. If you're an employee, grow, learn, and advocate for yourself. And if you're listening to this feeling like this hits too close to home, let me just say this: you're not just a number. You are not just your productivity score. You matter. Your work matters. And the right people will see that. So let's create workspaces that actually deserve our talent, shall we? All right, friends, that's it for today. Please share this with a fellow work warrior who needs to hear it. And if you're a manager out there trying to do right by your team, I see you and I'm rooting for you. We'll catch you next time.